People don't speak that much about values. But I think that values are very important because they are actually the compass of one's life. You know that you've got certain principles which you're not ready to give up. Come what can may. Today the world is a global village, and we have to adapt and to respect even the views and the opinions and the religious convictions of others.
Mr. President, thank you very much for accepting the invitation. For us, actually, it's a very special moment because it's literally 1 year as we speak. So I couldn't be more happy. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm for the very first time in the palace. What a beautiful place. Would you ever imagine that that could be your life, Mr. President?
No, definitely not. Not even up to 3 weeks before I actually accepted. I was still resisting with all my forces not to come to the office. Practically almost already 3 years. Within 2 years, I'll be back home, hopefully.
But those 3 years so far, how would you say? Was it a good
Well,
time?
I cannot say I've been lucky in the sense that apart from problems, internal problems, which one would expect in any presidency, we are also bombarded, as you know, by COVID-19. Especially last year, it was really bad. A lot of disruptions at school, places of work, in the economy, which is not nice because obviously these are situations which we've never experienced before, and obviously everybody had to learn how to live with them. The point is that we lost more than 400, now it's more than 500 persons because of COVID. And as I said, there were disruptions both at the education level and also a very, very big strain on the health services. The positive aspect about it was that during last year we managed to mount a campaign for vaccination, which was very, very, very successful. We also managed to keep the economy going and jobs going with government intervention. And also I have also to salute the personnel in the health industry which did wonders. So hopefully things will be better. And what I'm aiming at is to see that there will be a return to normal activity, normal life, to school, university, jobs, and also the comeback of our economy.
If I could ask you, Mr. President, like the highlight of 2021.
The highlight was something which wasn't limited to a particular day or week. It was this ongoing process of vaccination, which was the biggest challenge that we had. The ongoing process of trying to save our industries and jobs, and also to see how we can cope under the circumstances which were evolving without anybody knowing exactly what's going to happen next week or next month. So, in my opinion, that was the highlight. Apart from the fact that we look around us, I mean, one of the most important things, in my opinion, was the fact that to the south of us, fighting in Libya stopped. It doesn't mean that the situation has improved or that there was a solution, but the fact that the fighting has stopped, has changed the prospects for the future.
What I could see was and understand as well, when I saw this Istrina movement, the charity event, and they made a record-breaking number.
Well, that is something which has been happening on a regular basis. We had lots of fears as to what the result would be because obviously of the impact that, again, having to refer to COVID, had on the economy. Many people were not as comfortable as they used to be as far as, extra jobs and overtime and what have you. So we always have our misgivings as to whether the amount collected would be, matching what we used to have in previous years. But yes, on that day there was this showing of big tolerance and solidarity among the Maltese people, which makes us proud.
Mr. President, would you have something like a, idea or like a childhood memory that kind of drove you throughout your life?
I have many memories and many things which I learned growing up. I mean, love, the importance of family, tolerance, respect towards people who are less fortunate, belief in God. First and most important is honesty. to be honest to yourself and honest to people around you. I think those are values which I grew up with, which I learned from the family, and which I cherish to this very day, because they are the foundation. I mean, unless you know where you're heading, and unless you know that you've got certain principles which you're not ready to give up, come what can may. I mean, that is something which is very important for anybody who is leading and moving into life, especially saying this to young people who have to realize that life is not always easy. There will be the circumstances when one is tempted to throw away values. But I can assure everybody who's listening to this interview that when you apply the same principles over and over again, you'll not regret it.
I think on top of that, for the young generation, the social media itself doesn't really help.
No, unfortunately, this development, what they call social media, could have, and it has to a certain extent, let me be honest about it, it has brought about a revolution in communication, a revolution in relaying messages. But I think that we went beyond the positive aspect of it. And unfortunately, one sees that these media are sometimes abused, in the sense that many people put down or write down in social media things they would not have the guts to tell you in your face. What one reads on these social media is definitely not something one would recommend. And I think that there should be I wouldn't say lessons, but there should be education in restraint. To say, would I say the same thing to that man in his face or not? And if not, I wouldn't put it down. But unfortunately, that's what it has come to.
New restrictions came alive. Like last Sunday we had the march, and people are manifesting that is against the freedom.
No, I have my opinion on that. Let me be honest about it. First of all, I believe strongly that nobody can or should force anybody to get vaccinated. That's the freedom of choice of any patient. That is something which I strongly believe in. However, when you're talking about national health, I do see that people who opt to enjoy their liberty not to get vaccinated, they could expect to face certain restrictions. I mean, would it be wise, for example, for an unvaccinated person to go and visit his grandmother in an old people's home, amongst people who are so vulnerable? You know, many examples where one would say, look, in the interest of national health, unfortunately, if you decide not to be vaccinated, you cannot enjoy that freedom. For example, going into a restaurant or enjoying, you know what I mean. And I say this with a certain hesitance, because I'm not a person who enjoys seeing certain people being deprived of their rights. But where do you cut the line? It's true that there are these demonstrations against the right, but it doesn't simply depend on whether you have a right or not to stay unvaccinated. That is true. You have the right not to be vaccinated. There's no arguing about it. But then one will have to consider the consequences and what that means in the interest of public health.
But luckily, it looks like there is like a light in the tunnel. I think government announced that in February there might be some changes.
I trust them a lot. I mean, it's up to them to decide on scientific ground, on the scientific evidence, what to do and what would be best for the national health.
I think from our point of view, I think the only hope is to keep positive, and hopefully that there is nice outcome of it. Mr. President, I think we will leave it here. I'm very happy. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.